Hello, and thank you for joining us today for week 7 of our ongoing 15-week series of tools to support your soul. And here is this wonderful book, the tools that can be found in Jane's book, Spiritual Power Tools Support for Your Soul. And as you continue on this journey, this series will empower you to become your infinite self. And this morning, let us begin with the prescription for spiritual alignment. We are aligned with the presence of God within. We are protected by God's love, wisdom, knowledge, and grace. The God consciousness within helps us discover more about who we are. Thank you, God, for the gift of spiritual intuition. Thank you, God, for aligning our conscious, subconscious, and superconscious minds. Amen. And in today's video, entitled Moving from the Third Dimension into the Fourth Dimension, Jane will be disclosing to us how to navigate the spiritual journey from the third dimensional consciousness into the fourth dimensional consciousness. Let's watch and listen.
Well, hi there. As you can see, I have my Spiritual Power Tool book here. And I hope that you have yours handy because we're going to page 17. So, as I was talking to you last week about the third and fourth dimension, I want to tell you first of all, before I go into a lot of detail about these different dimensions, I was shocked, to say the least, when I realized that there was another dimension to this world that I lived in, that there was a higher dimension. And I thought about it a lot when I first started delving into a little bit of it to understand what is the difference between the third and the fourth. And I didn't quite understand at the time what the difference was. So as I worked in it, as I became more familiar, and what I'm going to be sharing with you right now didn't happen overnight. It probably took several years or more, probably 5 years, to get the whole vision of the difference between the third and the fourth, and to practice it and to be part of it. So when I talk to you about this, I want you to understand that this in itself is a journey. It isn't an overnight deal, and you will work on each one of these little steps I'm going to talk about over and over again. But it will pay dividends beyond whatever I could even mention to you. Only when you master this will you be able to truly understand what it is to be in the higher dimension. It's the difference between living in a limited state of consciousness to a higher state of awareness. So as you can see, the third dimensional consciousness, and you recognize yourself here. It's pretty simple. And one of the things that I found out as I was working with myself was that I was unable to turn off my mind. My mind went crazy on me. And I know your mind goes crazy on you because this is human. This is the humanhood. So the things that I'm going to talk about, the third dimension, is part of being human. And everybody that you meet and everybody that you talk to, your children, your people that you work with, your boss, whoever, lives in this third dimension that I am going to be discussing. which is they cannot turn off their mind. It's very hard for anyone, even especially when you're trying to meditate. But if you just watch your mind, I was appalled when I started to realize how busy my mind was thinking about Zippo nothing, or recreating the same old problem I was thinking about 2 weeks ago, or the conversation I had with Mary Jo, and what she said to me and what I said to her. And it wasn't going anyplace. It wasn't doing anything. It just kept me on a merry-go-round. So I was on this merry-go-round of my mind. I would think of one thing, and then I would think of another thing about the same subject. And I would go around and around and around and around. Now, I want you to pay attention to your mind this week. I want you to really look into what is your mind doing? How does it work within your head? How often do you ever have a quiet moment in your head when you're driving, when you're going to the store, when you're listening to others? You're also thinking while they're talking to you how you're going to answer the question they're asking. You see? But when I began the process, and it was a process of listening to my mind and paying attention to where it was taking me and how busy it was doing absolutely Zippo nothing. Every once in a while I'd come up with a good idea, but not very often. And if I did come up with a good idea, I spent the next 3 days trying to think of it and wonder if it's really good or not. No clear thinking. I was in this merry-go-round. And particularly when I began meditating, it even got worse. And then I really began to understand the importance of the observer self. Now I've talked to you for years about the observer self and the importance of developing it. Because if you don't develop that observer self, you're not going to be able to turn off your mind. Because there'll be nothing to observe it. Do you follow what I'm saying here? You have to work on that. You have to be diligent. And you have to watch every little thought you're thinking and cut yourself off at the pass. In other words, what I'm saying is, when you see you thinking over the same thing that you thought about 2 seconds ago and putting a different spin on it, you have to take charge of it and stop it. You're not going to get any real solution to the problem you're thinking about or the whatever is going through your head. You see, everybody is like this. This is the third dimension. This is the humanhood. Do I want to say the third dimension? I could just say humanhood. This is way the human person. And then, as you discover all that's going on in your head and you say, no, I'm stopping it right now. I'm not going to let that rule my day. I'm not going to let that thought be what I live in. Because I can't make any decisions because I'm thinking about, oh, wonder if this, wonder if that. Oh, if I do this, what will happen? If I do that, what will happen? Will he be mad? Will she be mad? Will my boss like me anymore if I told him what I thought? Blah, 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 blah. I found out I was the biggest blah, blah in town. I blah, blahed myself all over the place, and I bet you do too. This mind of ours has to be corralled, and I mean corralled. First step to move into the higher dimension of self is corralling that mind. Because in the fourth dimension, if you will do your work, you will have mastered the art of turning off your mind. You will have mastered it. it will be a mastering for you. And then, once you get that mastering of that mind, then you have an opportunity to really get into clear thinking and tap into the other dimension, the fourth dimension, where everything that you need to know is available to you. And once that started happening for me, wow, I really started listening to that mind of mind and observing it and getting out of it. So you have to do it. I can't do it. God doesn't do it. You do it. You have to be diligent in watching what the mind does. But first, spend a couple of days just listening to yourself. Journaling about, wow, I must have solved that problem 27 different ways. And man, did it keep me stuck. And what was my payoff? Oh, I know what my payoff was. I didn't have to do anything. Because if I keep that mind busy, I don't have to take action. I don't have to do anything. So I really love my busy mind. And my busy mind, it goes into all kinds of drama. Oh my God. It imagines all kinds of terrible things or wonderful things that could happen to me. And yet, here I sit, not making any decisions, not being able to move forward or backwards or upside down. It is your will, and it has to be your desire to conquer this, because only you're going to do it. And believe me, this has to be one of your first priorities to move out of the third dimension. Because humanhood thinks all the time. You know when you're sitting with a group of people and everybody is talking in the group and nobody's listening to anybody. Observe next time you're in a meeting or next time you're with a group of people having lunch or dinner or supper or whatever. Watch what's going on. Sit back and watch what's happening. And believe me, they will not know that you didn't say a word. That was my biggest shock. I practiced that. I sat and didn't say a word. I just sat there. And nobody knew I didn't say anything. They were so busy talking, yakking about this, that, and the next thing, cutting each other off, trying to get the floor. That was amazing to me. I had never observed that because I was always part of the action. And I realized whatever I was saying wasn't being listened to anyhow. That made it much easier to shut up and not be a participant in nothingness. Because believe me, it was nothingness. Opinions, nothingness. So, the very first thing you have to do to move out of the third into the fourth is that you have to turn your mind off so that you can get into the silence. And we'll talk more about that. Because a third dimensional person, a human person, identifies with its limited self. And it feels limited. It feels like it is unable to color outside its lines that it's given itself. It doesn't feel infinite. It feels limited. But as you control your mind and you tap into the higher energy, the higher vibration, your vibrations change and you get more clear about this limited self of yours and are able to move into the unlimited self of yours. And that doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. And I find so many students that I've taught and worked with throughout the many years that I've been doing this, I have found out that they want quick fixes. This is the world of quick fixes. And you have to move out of quick fixes and understand this is a process, because you have to understand your whole self in God, in the infinite, not in the third dimensional limited self. So there's a process going on, the process of opening your eyes, wanting to know more about who you are, and acknowledging that you've lived many lifetimes, and this time you want to know the truth of your being. And the process begins. The mountain gets climbed. One of the things a human being that we do is work on our intelligence. We have to read everything, or we're interested in how smart we are. How smart we are, smarter than the average bear. Or, oh gee, I'm not smart enough. I can't do that, I'm not smart enough. Well, you have to give up the intellect altogether, because you have to develop the intuitive mind. And the intuitive mind then takes charge of the intellectual mind. But that is a process that you are going through. You have to be teachable. You have to be teachable. You have to develop that intuitive self of yours, because that intuitive self intuits and understands the fourth dimension. It realizes, oh, there's another dimension here. Wow, I feel a different vibration. I feel something. I'm not sure what it is, but I feel this other vibration. There's another something trying to come to me, trying to come into my consciousness. I want to tap into it. I want to understand. My intellect can't understand God. Believe me, I tried. I read all the books I could possibly find that I thought would give me that insight. No. I finally closed my books and said, the only way I'm going to know you, or know the infinite, is to shut up and be absorbed by the infinite. Be absorbed. Absorbed. Did you hear me? Absorbed by the infinite. You must be absorbed by it. It must be penetrating every atom of your body, every atom throughout your toes, your head, your fingernails. You have to absorb the infinite. And that is exactly what you're doing when you're moving from the third to the fourth. You're beginning to absorb the infinite. Oh, I'm telling you something extremely, extremely important. You start to absorb, like a sponge, the infinite. But you have to get your intellect out of the way, because the intellect will not allow you to be absorbed, because it wants to understand itself in its limited ways, the unlimited. Do you hear me? The limited can't understand the unlimited. It can only move into the unlimited to understand itself. You must be absorbed. And that is exactly what happens when you move into the higher dimension of self. You become absorbed in the infinite. It becomes the very essence of your beingness. It absorbs you and you absorb it. It becomes one with the whole. You become one with the whole energy of this planet. permeates your every cell, every inch of you. And once it begins to permeate and you begin to absorb more and more of the God consciousness, you are moving out of the limited consciousness into this other consciousness. But it takes the willingness to be a sponge. A sponge, yes, a sponge. In other words, you have to just, what does a sponge do? It just relaxes and allows itself to be absorbed in the water of life. You become this sponge and you are absorbed in the water of life. You see, it's like taking yourself as a sponge. Let's pretend you're a sponge. And you drop yourself into the infinite. And you absorb yourself in the infinite. And then it becomes slowly but surely more conscious of the infinite in you. You see, what I am saying to you is of the utmost importance to your soul. I'm just not talking, well, wonder if this happens or that happens. You become absorbed. When you meditate, you allow yourself to be absorbed in the infinite. You become able to experience what the infinite is, and you understand the infinite from the tip of your toes to the top of your head. Allow yourself to be absorbed. Shut your mind up, because the mind can't go into the infinite because it's so finite. So what I am telling you with every inch of my beingness is watch that mind. Watch it like a hawk, because you don't want it to take you on a ride. You want to let it be, because you want to absorb in the infinite. Sponge, be a sponge. Let it be. All around you, the infinite is. Always has been. But you've been finite. And finite never moves into the next dimension of being, where you are master of your mind. And you are absorbed in the unlimited self. You are no longer a separated self. You are a one infinite self. I remember when I began putting these spiritual power tools together. I wrote these out of the very essence of my being. I discovered them as I became more absorbed, more and more absorbed. And I had to think differently. I had to look at life differently. I had to experience more than I've ever had to experience and understand from a different point of view, an intuitive understanding. This book is my life. And I mean that from my very essence of being. This book is my life. I put every inch of myself in this book. I put my God consciousness in this book. So when you're reading it, when you're looking at it, when you're observing what's here, it's laced with the essence of the Absolute. And if you get that, and truly get that, you will understand why I put this together and how important it is for you. This is my life. This is what I learned. And I'm still learning in a different place, in a different world than you live in. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that They were helping me from another dimension. You see, there's lots of help out there. Look over page 17. We're going to continue working on what's the difference between the third and fourth, because this is not just something I can do in 20 minutes. Nope. Bye-bye. I'll see you later.
I have been a student of Jane's for 30 years, and I want you to know that I have used these tools over and over and over again on this journey. They work. I'm going to say that again. They work. You will absolutely move beyond your limited self by, number one, as Jane stated, quieting your mind. This is absolutely essential on your spiritual journey to stop the chatter that's constantly going on in your head. By being an observer of self. Without being an observer of self, you can't possibly stop the chatter. So again, that is so important. And as Jane stated, we need to give up our intellect and move into our intuitive selves. We need to give up our intellect, move from our intellect into our intuitive selves. And by doing all of this, we are being absorbed into the infinite. In other words, we are moving from our finite selves into our infinite selves. I'm going to lift this book one more time again today for you. Spiritual Power Tools Support for Your Soul. This Spiritual Power Tools has been next to me on my table in my meditation area for forever, since it was first published in 2004. And I have used every one of these tools over and over and over again. And I want to let you know that it is possible to move from your finite self into your infinite self by using these tools. It is so important that we take the time every morning to open up our spiritual power tool book and see what the message is for this morning. Take that message every morning into your meditation time. It works. It will open up, you could say, the doorway, but I want to say it will open up your heart to knowing yourself from the tip of your toes to the top of your head. So take the spiritual power tools every morning and find out your special message for the day. At this time, I want to invite you to join us every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our Support for Your Journey gathering. Please note that additional information is in the chat area below. And thank you from our hearts here at the center for the gifts that you so generously have given us. These gifts allow us to continue this work serving humanity. And the information for donations is also listed in the chat area. And let's take a few minutes at this time to meditate together. Just please close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. Allow the chair to support you. You are safe. You are secure. In this moment, we are moving into the silence. And we are allowing ourselves to be absorbed into the infinite. We are expanding our consciousness to the experience of cosmic consciousness. Our hearts are open to universal love, the energy of love that's flowing in and through us. We are infinite light, infinite love, and infinite energy. We live in the now moment. We are open to our intuitive guidance, knowing the truth of our being. We trust our guidance. And as we move from this time of meditation together, we open our eyes when we're comfortable, knowing that the chair is supporting us and all is well. I want to thank you so much for being here with us together today. And thank you for being part of the Center for Enlightenment. I'll see you next week. Bye now.